Hello, this is Edna Castillo with Living Reality Dreams. So we've been going over The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker. And today we're covering Decide to Live Richly. So when we think about that, we often think about money, right? Rich as being money, having a lot of assets and money. But more than that, it's really having a full life, a life that you're enjoying in health, enjoying in relationships, enjoying in the things that you love to do. Just want whatever that it is in your heart's desire to be able to do it. That is a full life. That is living rich. So I have a story about a client who, when we were looking at all the areas of her life, which is vocation, relationships, time and money freedom, and her health, she graded them between 1 and 5. And the lowest was vocation. She gave vocation a 2. And the reason she gave it a 2 is because she was having a lot of difficulties at job. It was a job that had a lot of toxic relationships. It seemed like she worked and worked and worked, and she really didn't feel like she was making a difference. And also her supervisors weren't very mentoring, so they would just leave her to her devices to do what she could do with the department as a manager. And if it didn't work out, it was an easy, well, you should have done this. So it was a time in her vocation where she wasn't satisfied. She just wanted to do something else. So in the program that I teach, we worked on this. We developed she developed a relationship with abundance, with being grateful with actually changing the perception in which she was doing things and she was looking at things. Whenever she would say something like, it's really hard to communicate with these people because they just don't listen. And I would challenge her to say, well, what if it isn't? What if they are willing to listen? It's just that they're having difficulty understanding. So flipping the script of, is not necessarily how we think of things, but it's, we can kind of think about what other people may be experiencing in that same situation. So 90 days of us meeting on a weekly basis, and this was a challenge. And at the end of the 90 days, she now grades that vocation part of her life as a 4.7. And one of the reasons is because she took on the role of actually wanting to expand that part of her life and change that part of her life. So she decided to live richly in that area of her life, just like she was living in other areas. So when we talk about living richly and what Raymond Charles Barker says, he basically says that the full life is a field of limitless opportunities. It requires no physical labor, but it bids you to think new thoughts about eternal varieties and reshape your conclusions. So that's what what I was saying. It challenge your own thinking in the way you're thinking about things, and see if it could be more expansive rather than a constrictive way that it currently feels. So that was one of the things that my client did. The other thing is, your desires are of great asset, he says. They indicate the experiences that you have when you make the decisions to have them. You are mighty potentials awaiting your attention. They should never be ignored. With correct spiritual understanding, they can grow, emerge in your life to fulfill your life. So what she did is she honored that part of herself that was longing for better relationships in that work, to have a better experience at work. And she dreamed of being in a department that was nurturing, that was a boss, that was a mentor where she could learn from, and a department that was when they would meet, they would share ideas and collaborate together. So she was open to that and she dreamed it up. And within the 90-day period that we were working together, she was within a new job, within the same company, but she transferred into a higher level position. And now she is in a better position because she actually dreamed it up and she believed that it could happen. And she opened up her own experience of where she was living in at the moment. She was in an environment that wasn't very enriching, but changing the way she was looking when she was in that environment allowed her to expand her horizons and live on to a new experience. So this is basically how you create decide to live richly. You make a decision that whatever circumstance that you may be living in that may not be desirable at the time, that they can change. And by the first thing in changing them is being grateful for the opportunity and the abundance that you have, and then start taking the steps of envisioning the environment that you want to be in or the relationships that you want to be in. So with Charles in the way Raymond Charles Barker, and the way he explains it is basically, that you are capable of envisioning your own experience and living richly in exactly where you are, not necessarily because of the riches that you have in your bank account. It's about the experience of living in life. And once you have that, also the monetary riches can follow. So I hope that this serves you. As again, we are on, let's see, what chapter is this? I believe it is chapter 5. We have 3 more to go. And so I'll meet with you on Friday, and we'll see you then. What I would challenge you to do is look at the areas of your life. Look at your areas in your life and see where you may have a contractive feeling. Is it in your relationships, in your vocation, your time and money freedom? And then start working to flip your thinking about how you feel about the situation. At times it may seem difficult, but for instance, if you are, if let's say your bank account has a certain amount right now, and that is something that you would want more of, well, be grateful for what it does have, because the flip side could be nothing, right? So you're always looking for the higher expansive view of what it is that you want. And the more you concentrate on that, the more that expands and the more that grows. Okay, so I challenge you to do that for yourselves. And I love you very much. And until Friday, take care.